I have with me the keys to this 2023 Volvo XC90. It goes against rivals like the BMW X7, the Audi Q7, and the Mercedes GLS. So this shape Volvo XC90 has been on sale for a little while now, but this is the 2023 version, so it's updated with all the latest tech and features, and I want to see if it's still worth buying just before the EX90 gets released in early 2024. Now, pricing for this exact model starts from $104,990, but there's a few options thrown here on this car, which includes a climate pack, the tinted rear windows, you've got front massaging seats, a Bowers & Wilkins sound system, which costs $6,000, well specifically $6,450. You've got a Napa leather interior, and you do have a metallic paint, which surprisingly is a no-cost option. So our total price for our test car here is $117,540. I do like the sculpting here on the bonnet, gives it a bit more of a muscular look, and I do like how the bonnet sort of folds here into the grille. Now we have blacked out grille here, we have our giant Volvo badge here with a radar built in and also a little camera there as well. And then yes, I do like the black accents through the grille and down below as well. It looks quite striking. Now we have these Thor hammer designed LED daytime running lights, and we also have nice bright cornering headlights as well, which these are just fantastic. I really do like Volvo's headlamps quite a lot. Now the side profile of the XC90 has always been my favorite. I think this is the best looking large 7-seater SUV you can buy just from a design point of view. It looks so nice. Now, I do like these large 22-inch wheels. I was quite surprised how big they were, but the downside of these is that they're going to be easy to curb, and sometimes that means a worse ride as well. So they might look good, but we'll see how they perform in just a moment. Now we also have some black trim around the mirror caps, the window trim, and also up here on the roof rail, which goes really nice with this paint. And also it's worth noting as well, you don't have a bunch of plastic around this car. Instead we have body colored trim running around the wheel wells, down the side skirt, and over the back, which usually would be like plastic on some other SUVs, but here it looks a bit more grown up when that's all painted. And then finally, Volvo's fuel doors are quite cool because they don't have a cap to unscrew. Instead, you can just go and fill it up. So I just like that simple, easy to use factor with this car. Now, finishing off the design and the features, the XC90 has a nice clear rear end for 2023, although I'm not a big fan of these taillights. They're just looking a little bit old for 2023, but I do like what Volvo is doing in the upcoming EX90, so that will be fixed when the new model comes. I really like how clean this rear bumper is, and I just wish more cars would do this rather than resort to the weird fake exhaust drama. So the Volvo XC90 is the SUV from Volvo that has the most amount of boot space. It has an automatic tailgate. You can use your foot to unlock it from the back here, which I find to work somewhat. It doesn't really work all the time for me smoothly, so I find it just easier just to pop the boot from the back or from the inside or from your key. Now here in the back, I've got one of the third row seats up to show you how much space you actually have. And to be honest, this is some of the most amount of space I've seen with the third row up. Usually it means that you only have like a couple of centimeters of boot space, and then you go, well, what was the point of getting a large 7-seater? Where here, if you want to carry up to 7 people, you'll still have enough for, say, like a golf bag to go across, or maybe 2 suitcases, which is still pretty practical considering that you're taking up most of your boot space with a person in the back. Now there's some space along the side here, it's a little plastic tub, and also you do have a little bit of elastic here to hold things in place like a water bottle. You also have a 12-volt socket in the rear. Now what I do like as well is that there actually is a cargo divider built into the boot floors. It has some hooks in here as well. It has some elastic in here as well. So the whole thing is designed to be a bit more practical and stop small bags. Maybe you go to grocery shopping, for example, and that stuff just goes everywhere in a big boot. Here, at least you can throw up the divider and just make your life a little bit easier. Underneath, you'll reveal a spare tire and everything you'll need to change one. Now, these weighty doors on the XC90 really feel like a sense of occasion on a $100,000 car like this. Jumping in, oh, I just love the feel of this car. The seats are fantastic. They're really nicely trimmed as well in this Napa leather. Obviously, that's a very good option to go for, and they're easily adjustable. But also what I do love is that these have massaging functions, because obviously you pay for that, but it's so cool to have that as a feature. Now, moving from the top to the bottom, we have our Bowers & Wilkins speakers up here, which look fantastic. Plenty of stitching, nice soft touch materials. We do have a large center screen here, but for some, it might look a little bit small against this dashboard because it's the same screen that's being used across all of Volvo's cars now. And here it just looks, yeah, a little bit tiny with some thick bezels around the outside. But to be honest, I think it works well because one, it's super responsive, and two, it sort of feels like a bit like an iPad. So it's sort of like a good size. This car has open open pore wood as a trim option throughout this car, and it looks fantastic, especially down here in the center console where it actually moves with your sliding cover, which is quite cool and quite an interesting woodworking project that they've done down here, but it feels very premium. And also noted that they tried to match the wood textures on each side of the car to make it symmetrical, which is something that very high-end manufacturers like Rolls-Royce and Bentley would do. So I like to see that effort put through here. Even though it's not exact, that means it's a good thing because it means it's authentic wood. Now in front of me, I have a large screen, and I've talked about this in the Volvo XC90 review that I did. I like how the edges are curved. It's the exact same display that we're getting. Very simple. It has Google Maps thrown in the middle. Our revs are on the right, and also all your gear information and your speed and all that's on the left. And if you want to get some additional information, you can just press the center button here and it gives you a trip computer. It's really simple to operate, really good for families who don't want anything overcomplicated. And that sort of leads me into this screen here because it has Google integration, which means you can go and say, hey Google, turn on my heated seat.
Got it. Turning on the seat heater for the driver.
Now on occasion I found Google to be a bit hard of hearing, but most of the time it works quite well, especially for simple features like that. And we have some hard buttons down below for your climate and all that, and also controls to control this $6,000 speaker setup. So you can make this thing sound like a Gothenburg concert hall, a jazz club, all that sort of stuff. I've always loved the Bowers & Wilkins systems here in Volvos ever since I first tried them last year, and it's just an amazing experience. And I really think it's worth the upgrade over the stock sound system that this car comes with. So yeah, if you're looking for a way to splurge in this car, it would be that Bowers & Wilkins speaker system. Now down here in the middle, we do have an Orifice. I'm probably butchering that very much so. It's a high-end crystal manufacturer that have developed this gear shifter that we see here. It's backlit and it just looks fantastic. It's really nice to engage with, and you just sort of flick it forwards and backwards just to jump between your different gears, and it's just such a cool inclusion here. Now what I especially like is how this door at the rear is the same weight at the front. Now jumping in as a 5'11" adult, I'm pretty comfortable already, especially behind my driving position. I have my own air vent here on the B pillar, and I also have a little hook here in the back. I have more open pore wood here in the rear, a nice Bowers & Wilkins speaker, my own sunshade in the rear. What I thought was a weird omission though is that there is no giant glass roof or any sunroof to speak of, so it just feels a little bit more dark in here, but hey, some people might prefer that. Now this car is fitted with rear climate controls, rear heated seats, which is quite good. Now I do have a little armrest here in the center with some tiny cute little cup holders that pop out. They're really only going to be good for any sort of small water bottles or any small coffee cups, because really they're too tiny to hold any large water bottles. Now we have two USB ports in the back, two USB Type-C, and now if I jump into the center seat here, yeah, it's a really firm seat. It's not too comfortable at all. And what I don't really like as well is that there is a pretty large transmission and exhaust tunnel, so I am moving my feet to the outside because my feet are just a bit too big to fit here in the middle, and I feel too crouched. Now what's cool is that there is an inbuilt little booster seat in the center seat as well, so that'll be good for any sort of children that might need it and you didn't bring one along. But I find it weird that Volvo really put in the middle seat rather than the outer seats like they did on the XC60. Now these seats do slide forwards and backwards to give the third row more room. Now what I found very annoying is that it's actually not too easy to get into the third row as an adult. Now for kids it might be easy to fold the seat forward, but if you slide it back, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a pain to get into. So you have to pull the little tab down here on the side to fold this seat flat and then climb over it. So as I climb over it here, I can sit here in the back with relative comfort. It's not too good though for a 5'11" adult like me, but let's try it. Now I'm trying to bring up the seat without any assistance from anyone else, and yeah, it's just going to be too difficult for people to do too smoothly. Now I can reach down and pull this seat up, and there we go. Now I can get an idea of what feet room would be like and knee room. So the feet room is pretty limited in the back because I feel like I'm being a bit squished underneath the second row, and my knees are feeling just a little bit jammed up against this second row here, and my head's touching the roof. This is a true 7-seat car experience, but these seats are pretty comfortable. They're nicely trimmed and plush, and also the fact that they have a nice bit of space between them as well, so I won't feel like I'm smushed right against the person in the back. We have some nice large speakers, our own cup holders, and some more air vents in the rear, so it's not going to feel too claustrophobic. And then a little Easter egg this car has is that there's some little spider web designs underneath these little compartments here in the rear, which is just a little funny that Volvo has thrown it in there, and just a little out of place with the theme of this car as being very serious and very luxurious. So despite this being a massive vehicle, this doesn't have a massive motor. It's only a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol motor under the bonnet, producing just over 200 kilowatts. So it's not really a quick and fast car, but despite it having a small motor and a big body, it can still hit 0 to 100 in just under 7 seconds. So look, the XC90 is never going to be really a performance car. You can get the plug-in hybrid version, which will give you more power, but the only reason why I'd get that is because I prefer the plug-in hybrid refinement, because here this engine isn't really sounding that refined. Volvo have done a lot of effort to make this thing well fitted out, well isolated, insulated, all that sort of stuff, and yeah, sure, it does sound pretty good. But the only thing is that this just got this bit of a grumble. Like if I go to slow down here and it's a little bit delayed, it's not really responsive to my inputs, so I'm not a massive fan of the powertrain. I wouldn't buy this car for the engine, but I would buy it for everything else, like this steering feel. Although it's a bit of guesswork where you are on the road because it's just a little bit light, you can stiffen it up through the driving settings here. There's only one drive mode, which is the one you in when you start and drive, but you can stiffen up the steering here. There's a good heads-up display. I've got great visibility, and for the most part, it's a very quiet and luxurious cabin. Out on the highway, it's very quiet as well, and not a bunch of wind noise or road noise. But the thing that is very obvious to me, and one of the downsides, is the big 22-inch wheels. I love the look of them, don't get me wrong. I would probably buy them if I hadn't driven this for long periods of time, but it's just that they're translating a lot of road noise, and also it's feeling a bit too rigid in here for what I would like in a big SUV like this. So the XC90's 22-inch wheels are a bit of a detriment to its overall ride quality. So yeah, those are the two real downsides. That one, the engine's not so special, and two, yeah, the wheels do sacrifice the ride quality. But aside from that, let's talk about the really good things going on here. First of all, the suspension setup. It is so composed in here for a big car. It feels a lot smaller and a lot lighter than it actually gives on from the outside. So it's really easy to drive day to day. Now, the other thing as well is I'm feeling like I've got a good amount of brakes for a large SUV like this. I talked about it, so let's sort of keep going a little bit, but then if I went to go sort of hook on the brakes a little bit, I can sort of feel like I've got a good amount of anchorage, which is quite confidence inspiring and really good for a family car. Now, I love the driving position. It feels very comfortable, very natural, and you know, it doesn't really feel like I'm sitting in a massive SUV, but I can lift that seat up if I prefer that raised riding position. Now, we do have Volvo's Pilot system, which is basically a all-in-one cruise control. You go ahead and set your cruise control, and then automatically turn on active lane keep assist and radar cruise control, then go ahead and cruise within the line. This does a really good job of adapting to the cars in front of me, and also I find that it doesn't require you to sort of constantly touch the steering wheel. You can sort of just leave your hand on it and it knows you're holding it, which is very useful and just something that's great for long trips. Now, should you buy one of these? To make it simple, yes, this is a great family car option. For 2023, Volvo have ironed this thing out to make it a very luxurious, very comfortable, a very safe, and also a pretty current feeling SUV. There's really no reason to jump into this and think it feels dated by any means. Now, the incoming EX90 is only a few years away, so if you want to buy a bridging car between now and then, this would be an excellent option. I would say just grab one of these and then you'll be able to get an idea what Volvo is all about and really enjoy that electric driving experience that will come in 2024. So all in all, the XC90 still deserves its name as one of the best luxury 7-seater family cars you can buy.